Wellington Regional Waste Management and Minimisation Plan Joint Committee, tēnei rā. Now do the karakia. Please feel free to join in. Whakatakati hau ki te uru, whakatakati hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hi aki ana te atakura, he tio, he hoka, he hohu, ti hei mauri ora. And apologies, everyone, I've still got a slightly raspy voice. Sorry. So, apologies. So we're just waiting for Councillor Helena. So we'll maybe just wait a couple of minutes and just see if he turns up. So we haven't got any conflict of interest declarations. Oh, sorry, there aren't any apologies though.
Even we still need to vote on them even.
Do we? If we haven't got any, I'm not sure. I feel sorry. Okay, thanks. Conflict of interest declarations. Anyone? No. Okay, and now the confirmations of minutes. I move those. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Swales. So if we can just all put up our hands. Everyone online. Everyone? Okay, cool, mana. And no items not on the agenda, no public participation because we've had some wonderful public participation. So now, Dill, over to you to add anything new. We've read the papers. If there's anything you'd like to say, kia ora.
Thank you, and kia ora, everyone. Diljinder Uppal, Zero Waste Strategy Manager, Wellington City Council. We are very pleased to bring you this iteration of the Waste Management and Minimisation Plan 2023 to 2029. This is a new plan with a new direction, supersedes the old one. We started this process in November last year, which is over a year. Numerous briefings, interactions with the Joint Committee, with stakeholders, numerous HUIs at different councils, at Marais, a joint effort between 8 councils. It was a great experience to have worked with the different officers of the 8 councils. What you see over here is probably about 10 or 20% of the officers sitting. There's a huge team of consultation staff, engagement staff, and communication staff who have engaged, collaborated to bring you this plan today. There was an extensive public consultation period that we undertook, and we got some very positive feedback from the community that has helped us strengthen this plan. And we had a few sessions with the Joint Committee as well, where we got direction on the regional actions, the targets, and some other nuance on the WMMP, especially around the Maori cultural lens and the role of officers and EV as kaitiaki. We have been very careful not to claim that the officers are the sole kaitiaki of the outcomes of the WMMP. Rather, we see that we gather wisdom from those who know best to affect the changes that we want to see in the Wellington region for waste minimization. We've got 3 landfills in the region. We get about 300,000 tons every year cumulative in the 3 landfills. Some of the waste is from within the region, some of the waste is from outside the region. This plan is going to tackle the increasing waste coming into these landfills. We've got some ambitious targets that we have put in this WMMP. Those targets are aligned with the waste strategy that MFE has put out. The regional actions, we've got about 10 regional actions in the WMMP that cover the infrastructure space, community capability, community enablement, and especially with regards to advocacy and collaboration with industry, with community, and also with the central government. What we want to do with the regional actions is push the conversation up the waste hierarchy from disposal to production to consumption and diversion. And that will help us reduce our waste and also give us the emissions reductions that we need. Without further ado, I would like to pass over to Nigel, who's online, who's the other chair of the steering group, representing the group to the Joint Committee. And after that, we can take questions from the Joint Committee. Thank you.
You all right, Nigel? I was on mute.
There we are. No, thank you, Chair. I would just like to say thank you to all the teams that have worked so hard on this, and thank you to the Joint Committee for bearing with us in what has been a long and productive process. And I think we're all looking forward to developing the implementation plan and getting it well underway so we can make some good progress. Thank you, Chair.
Nice and succinct, Nigel, thank you. Right, councillors, so we're just now going to have questions, then I'll move the paper, we'll have some debate, and we may be finished quite quickly today because we have had a very long process. Right, questions. Deputy Mayor Foon, do you want to start off?
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for the mahi. So my questions are just around the implementation plans and just understanding the timeframe for delivery and how will this committee or each of the individual councils be involved in that process?
Thank you, Councillor. The next step from here is obviously each and every council adopting the WMMP at their respective committees. The timeline for that is sometime around end of Feb. Once we have that blessing, we'll start the work on the WMMP implementation. Some of the work actually has already started on the implementation planning. We intend to bring a draft implementation plan to you by June next year. Before that, we intend to have a briefing with you on what we are thinking of developing and as a draft copy of the implementation plan. We are also embedding into the implementation plans monitoring and reporting regime, which will include an annual review and an update to the Joint Committee, which will fall this time next year. The first review would fall this time next year.
And so just to clarify, all of that will come through the Joint Committee as opposed to individual councils?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillors, any other questions? And welcome, Councillor Helena, too.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. My apologies for being late. I'm up in Tūrangi and was struggling to connect this morning. Just in relation, and I might have missed some information already, but in terms of the implementation plan, did I just hear we're going to have a combined regional implementation plan as opposed to our local plans?
The regional WMMP, the plan that we've developed, it demands a regional implementation plan so that we keep working together. Out of that will also fall some local actions that will complement and supplement the local action plans that have already been developed and are in front of you. But the priority is always going to be that the officers work on the regional actions collectively, but also work simultaneously on the local action plans.
Okay, and we're likely to see what that will look like early in the new year.
A draft, yes. Councillor, you missed a bit of that earlier. We'll bring you a draft implementation plan by June next year, but you will be involved in the development of that probably around March, April.
And in terms of that regional implementation plan, I guess we're talking about the bigger initiatives that would benefit from being a collective initiative.
Yes, absolutely, Councillor. The implementation plan would follow what the regional actions that you approve today. The implementation plan will be based on what we need to achieve and what we need to do to achieve the regional actions.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Deputy Mayor Wells.
Thank you. And just for a point of clarification, I'm assuming that with this plan coming back to us in the middle of 2024, that if there are significant capital investments that we would be flagged in time to put it into our LTPs, and I'm assuming that the KPIs, having read the document and gone through it, would be able to be covered by the majority of our waste levy that we already receive, and just making sure that that's where my understanding is.
Yes. With regards to LTP and funding, the different regional councils are in different positions with regards to that. LTP windows are closing for most of the councils, or for all councils, and it's basically organics, C&D, capex that's required. Those capital conversations are being held at the moment with the LTP teams, and the officers are involved in that. Other than that, we see that the regional actions can be delivered through the waste levy.
Any other questions? Right, okay. Well, we'll debate. It's, thank you very much for those questions. So look, it is my pleasure to to move this paper today. It has been a long journey. In fact, starting before 2011, this is our third plan, and it's good to see the progress from plan to plan to plan. And I think we've made a step change with this one, going from waste-free from the current plan to the circular economy. So that is indeed a great move. I'd like to thank a number of people. First of all, the officers, Lisa and Yvette, Dill, Nigel, and many others. You've put in an enormous amount of work, and we're very grateful. Becca as well. The submitters, you provided many useful insights. These submissions have been studied by officers. I have personally read every single one of them, as well as I'm sure my colleagues have. And we valued your insights, particularly around the collection of organic materials. The issue of mana whenua exercising sovereignty is a very important one, and we are on that journey. There have been some attempts to consult, but more importantly, we have started to have those discussions about seeing how our mana whenua partners can actively participate in this committee. So that will be an issue for discussion for this committee next year. the big bricks here really are organics and construction and demolition, and I'm really, really pleased that we managed, after quite a lot of discussion, to get to a point where we talked about organic systems rather than just one organic plant. That was very much requested by community organisations, and I think a strong system is one which is diverse, and we know that not everyone will use a council-controlled service. Work around construction and demolition is also incredibly exciting, right? We are going to be doing a lot of work in this region over the next couple of decades, and there will be facilities to manage these materials in a more effective way. Councillors, it is in our hands. This is going to cost a lot of money. It is not going to be cheap because essentially we're having to change our systems. So Deputy Mayor Swale's question was pertinent. Money is already in our LTP for Wellington City Council, Hutt and Porirua, as I understand it. And that's very exciting. We'll be getting money from the government. I'm not expecting much change of direction personally, but I also thank Deputy Mayor Swales for advocating strongly that we will go and see the Minister of this committee to say, look, these are the things that we need you to do so that we can do our work. I would like to, again, thank the submitters because you gave us some pretty blunt feedback that our vision wasn't ambitious enough, it wasn't always as clear as it needed to be, that the objectives and targets needed some more work. And so we have had considerable discussion on that in our workshops. Thank you, councillors, for your robust contributions. And you can see from the paper that changes have been made, which I think is good. We really have listened. The implementation probably is where it's going to become very tricky. We're going to have to get into the detail, and we're going to have to make sure that our staff have the resources and support the community also so that they have the resources to actually do the work, because we have had a lot of aspirations over the last decade or so, but we really need to speed up with our work. As I say, nature is my boss. In a way, political cycles and budgets are a little bit irrelevant. We know that nature is on the move and not in a particularly positive way because of the actions we have taken. So action is urgent. And just the last point I'd like to make is that I very much look forward to working with you next year to really work on that implementation plan, work on lobbyings, and getting the money through in our long-term plans so we can deliver for our communities, which of course is why we are all here. So again, thank you to my co-chair, Councillor Mitchell, all of you wonderful people. We have a diversity of views, so we've had rich conversations as a result, and I'm incredibly excited about the work that we are going to be doing and pleased with the plan as it stands. Kia ora. Is there a seconder? Councillor Mitchell, would you like to speak now? Well, maybe you can reserve your right. Would anyone else like to speak?
Yeah.
Through you, Chair, I certainly agree. The collaboration of our officers has been amazing and needs to be awarded. It's something that, as an elected person, I certainly appreciate the resilience of the team being able to get to a consensus that we all agree. And I have to echo your comments around those that submitted, and even those that didn't come and speak to us but actually put in a written submission. They certainly made us accountable, and I echo your thoughts. We did hear them. Not always on everything did we land on, but I'm sure that we've arrived at a consensus. I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure working with the other members of this team. I've enjoyed the robust discussions and debates around the table. And in closing, I'd just like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I look forward to coming back in 2024 to start the next process in this journey. Thank you.
Kia ora. Councillor Hayward.
Atamata kia koutou katoa. Thank you, Whai Kimana, for your comments in the debate. I have 4 points just to make. First, this paper charts the process of the development of this plan transparently. While everybody may not be necessarily happy with the outcomes, they can certainly see how we got to that process. So it's important that people see how their feedback folds into the final plan. So thank you to the officers in particular for that part, amongst all the other bouquets that have been laid at you so far in this corridor. Secondly, the previous plan illustrates what the challenge is this time around. And I want to focus particularly on the fact that every council has a role to play. So on behalf of Porirua City Council, we're up for this. And I look forward to our LTP next year as an opportunity to confirm those commitments alongside our fellow councils in the region and mana whenua. I wanted to just lead into the third point, which is that I appreciate the comments from the chair with regards to the role of mana whenua in the committee. I know that this will be a take for next year. And again, we are up for the challenge to have that conversation, but also mindful that it is not a process that we get to chart on our own terms. My final point is that we will need to also continue to advocate towards central government to not just hold the line, but to keep pushing forward in this area. There are a number of factors that are beyond the roles of councils directly. And they play an outsized role in this take. So on that, I will leave it there and support the paper. Kia ora.
Anyone else?
Yep.
Yep.
Through you, Madam Chair. Look, just agree with everything that's been said so far. One thing that's really jumping out to me around this is the move towards collaborative approach around the region. I think it's going to be very, very important in lots of areas as we move forward, not just this, but how it ties into the climate conversation as well. I just wanted to acknowledge the passion of the officers in this space. You know, I think that's a big driver here as well. Just about everyone involved in this space really puts their heart and soul into it, because to them, they identify that this is an important thing, and I guess this is why they are involved in these spheres of influence as such. So hoping that we can build on that passion with regards to I guess facilitating these processes and helping facilitate these processes coming through. I applaud being aspirational. I always applaud being aspirational, but in this space, I think it does need to be tempered with reality. And that's we do have constraints, but taking on board that we need to be sure that we are advocating and pushing at those constraints, rather than just being tolerant that we're happy with where they might potentially lie. As such, and we need to be champions, I guess, as elected officials. I'm always going on at our council table how we're the supposed champions of our community, so it's up to us to make sure that we're championing this mahi into central government and making sure that we're meeting our goals and pushing to keep things on track. So I very much look forward to seeing how this all pans out. Look forward to the fact that it's more measurable and that we can actually measure the outcomes and report back to our communities that we're making progress, which I'm very much looking forward to. Happy to support, and yeah, looking forward to getting on with it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foon.
Yeah, kia ora. Just want to acknowledge your words. I think for me that the last plan was challenging to work with. So it has been a pleasure, even though I'm not on the committee, but an alternate, just to be alongside this process, acknowledge the mahi of the officers and the collaborative way that you've brought this together, and the passion. That was the one that came out clearly. But I think what I really wanted to point out was the vision, and while this one, you know, as I've said before, still doesn't make me want to rush out of the bed in the morning to do the mahi, but it deeply conveys in a grounded way in plain English exactly what we're trying to do here. And I really respect, and I know that was everybody that worked on trying to get that vision, so I really just want to thank you all for that, and it's something I feel as a councillor that's interested in this space, but also as a city and as a region, we can stand by and commit to doing the work to get there. So thank you. Thank you to the Chair for your work too.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Just 2 points. Councillor Hayward, I think it's great that you said that, Porirua is up for doing this work, because I think that's really where the success or failure will lie, is whether we are prepared to carry through. I think the plan that we agreed was fine last time, just we just didn't do enough implementation. And so this will take courage, and it's very easy to sit around the table now and say we're up for it. Of course, too, because we're not in an LTP discussion when we're having a whole lot of other things which are absolutely critical. So we will need to be really, really focused on those implementation plans and monitoring next year and making sure that we're actually getting the work done. And thank you for your points around lobbying. Yep, look, we will absolutely do that. Let's have a discussion about how we will do that, because I think that will be very, very important. And look, as I say, there is an urgent need to take action. And this is foundational environmental work, right? If we can't manage our resources, we cannot pass on a planet for future generations. So we must get this right. But after listening to you all over many months, I feel the commitment's there, which is very exciting and positive. So if we could now put the recommendations to the vote, if you could just raise your hand.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just clarifying these recommendations 1 through to 5.
Yes.
Thank you.
Everyone's put their hand up. Lovely. All right, Komana, it is carried. We are done. Thank you again. And look, I do wish everyone a wonderful break. And the fact that it was 29 minutes does not mean that we didn't take it seriously. We've had many meetings. So do have a great break, because we will have a lot of work to do in our LTP year. Kia ora, everyone. So now declare the meeting closed, and we will finish off with the karakia. We should just, you have to put the words up. Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, just on the screen for everyone else too. Just go. Oh, the words haven't appeared, but that's all right. I'm sure many of you know it. So, unahia, unahia, unahia ki te uru tapanui. Kia wātia, kia mama, te nāko, te tinana, te wairoa, e te ara takatū. Koia rā e rongo, whakaerea ake ke runga. Kia wātia, ai rā, kua wātia. Thank you again, everyone. Time for a little celebration for those of us in the room, and for those online, go and have your own morning tea in celebration of your great work. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next year.